So a couple of weeks ago when I was here for the anniversary, it wasn't immediately my intention to put together sort of a movie theme sort of deal, but apparently that's what we did on the anniversary Sunday. I was referring to all kinds of movies, some of which I hadn't even seen. So it's another Christmas miracle. You know? So, I don't know how that works, but anyway, I just want to refer back to that for those of you who might not have been here, or those of you who were. What I spoke about on that anniversary Sunday, what we really had the opportunity to explore was Suncoast's prequel. And the prequel of Suncoast is when Spirit made a divine call to Reverend Allen. And he heard that call and he said yes to the vision that was Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living. And he continued to say yes before any of you ever heard of any of this. And he brought that yes right to the moment of his departure from this spiritual community. And I want to say something about that I'm not sure I made clear last time. I want to give a shout out to Reverend Allen, because what he did in leaving this community was a very powerful, courageous, and loving thing. And it may not have felt that way when you first heard the news that he was leaving, because we get attached to people. And we don't like other people making changes that affect us. We like to be the changers, right? Am I right or am I right? Okay. So what Reverend Allen did was he once again listened to the call of Spirit. And Spirit was saying to him, your work here is complete. It's time for you to say yes to something else for yourself and also for this spiritual community. So Allen brought us through the prequel up to that moment at which point we started in the neutral zone of the current episode. The current episode that is Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living. And that's where we are now, in that neutral zone where creativity and possibility and things we haven't even dreamed of begin to take seed. And that then, if we do our work here in the current episode, in the present moment, in the neutral zone of creativity, then we have the opportunity to together own this community. It's no longer the community that Reverend Allen started. It is now the community that belongs to this community, because it takes a community to be a community. You're it. You are the sequel to Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living. And so we create the sequel out of the seed of possibility that exists right here in the now. And so that's the sequel we're moving toward. But right now, I'm going to pull the reins in. I'm going to, whoa, let's not jump to the future before we spend time in the present. So we have a tendency, I don't know about you guys, actually I do. It seems to be human nature that we like to spend time in the past, mostly regretting it in many cases, or in the future worrying about it. Neither of those two things are terribly positive or constructive or fun. So I would ask you to join me in giving it up. Okay? And we'll spend our time firmly planted right in this moment, in the now moment of creation, in the neutral zone, in the creative zone. And so today, in follow-up to all of that we talked about before, the prequel, the current episode, and the sequel, we'll start moving toward that creative possibility, following up by making your life a masterpiece, individually and collectively as the community that is Suncoast. Are you up for making a masterpiece? Yes. All right, that didn't sound very enthusiastic. Yes. All right then, that's what I'm talking about. Because, you know, so often in the human experience, as I said, many of us focus our energy and attention on a past, on the prequel that's already over. Or we spend time worrying about the future, the sequel that has not arrived yet. And thus, we're recreating the past in the future, and we're all starring in which movie? Back to the Future. Right? Okay. Been there, done that. That's the tagline of that movie, Back to the Future. Been there, done that. So we're going to move forward, because what happens is if we spend no time in the creative zone in the current episode, the sequel looks pretty much like where we just came from. We don't want to do that. Even if it was good, it gets gooder. I'm an English major. I can butcher the language. It gets gooder and gooder and gooder until it's the best. So that's what we're going for, okay? So change and creation is ever taking place. Deepak Chopra told us that the cells of our body are constantly changing and recreating themselves. The person who stands before you now is not the person who was here last time. I've got some new cells going on, and so do you, right? So what we hear from, not only are we physically changing constantly, but we hear from St. Paul the following: be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we're constantly changing it in our thinking, in our evolution, in our consciousness, deepening and growing and expanding. And we can choose, we can consciously and intentionally choose to let go of the past, to bless it, and to move on. And then we can make another very important choice to move into new creation in the present moment so that we can have a new experience in the future. But that new experience in the future will not happen if we don't spend time in the now, creating it, okay? Because the pattern of yesterday's thinking set the law into motion to create the experience we're having today. And the pattern of today's consciousness creates tomorrow's experience. And so we're literally co-creating tomorrow today. So you might want to think about what you're expecting to show up tomorrow, or what you'd like to show up at least tomorrow. So we can make the choice to powerfully rekindle our inner fires and to recreate, reinvent ourselves and Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living in this now moment of creation. Our lives and the life of this community is like a blank canvas. It's like an empty page. It's like a lump of clay. It's like an opus, all waiting to be shaped into a work of art filled with purpose and meaning and passion. How's that sound? Yeah? We've got a lump of clay, we've got a blank canvas, whatever your medium is, it's ready for you, individually and collectively, because each of us and all of us together are masterpieces awaiting full expression, individually and collectively. Because just think about it, if you're individually developing who you are and becoming more and more of who you authentically are, that impacts the community, and the community then is becoming more authentically what it's called to be in this next sequel, right? Ernest Holmes, our founder, wrote this: there is a creative urge back of everything you do, an urge to express life, joy, and happiness, to reach out to everything that lives as though you belong in the universe in which you live, to be one with it, and to have an enthusiastic zest for living. I love that word, zest. Say that with me. Zest! Doesn't that, it feels kind of good to say it, doesn't it? It kind of, yeah, I mean, you can't sort of just sit there like a lump. Zest! Okay, now let's put it together with living. Zest for living. Okay, let's try it again. Zest for living. Whoa! You feel that energy? It's coming. Zest for living. Oh, Zora, yeah. Zest for living. Or like our teaching symbol, I intend and it shall be. All right? So our life is evolutionary. We talked about last time. How many like the idea of transformation? Cool, right? How many of you want to change? It's like, oh, change? I have to change to transform? Yes. To become who you truly are, yes, you have to change. You have to become and become and become, to live into your authentic beingness. Change is constantly happening. Sometimes it's by our own choice, and sometimes we're pushed by the pain of turbulent times, by economic challenges, by career shifts, by health issues, by other people's decisions. Dad, now that people have just beheaded. They just read the script that's in my head, right? But sometimes we're pushed by that pain, the pain of loss, the loss of a relationship or the loss of a loved one. Sometimes we're pushed by pain until we can catch a vision and be pulled by possibility. Now the poet Rumi, I love Rumi. Rumi is wow. The poet Rumi wrote this: try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down, because how do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? That's one of those things that make you go, Right? I'm going to say it again. How do you know that the side that you are used to is better than the one to come? We don't. We don't. Thank you, Rumi. So life is ever changing in a co-creative process. There's a co-creative process that we can participate in, or we can sort of let life happen to us, and then we can complain about it, or we can participate in it. So let it be. Let it be. Let Spirit have its way with you. Get into co-creative partnership with Spirit, and let's move intentionally and consciously forward into that future that we want to live. You know, the co-creative journey is signaled by a creative dilemma, or a creative tension, or a sort of a disturbance in the force, a disturbance in the fabric of life. Kind of a divine discontent, if you will, where Spirit troubles the waters, just to get our attention. Spirit may trouble the waters, just when we get comfortable. Kevin and I were talking the other day about, sometimes life feels like that, it's not gophers, what do you call those things that pop up? Whack-a-mole, yeah. That you whack it down and then another one pops up, whack, 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 whack. Well, sometimes that's not such a bad thing, because it gets you up and alive and paying attention and making some conscious decisions about which moles you want to keep and which ones you want to get rid of, right? So life is ever changing. And that divine discontent, or that disturbance in the force, forces us to make a choice for either what's been so, or a choice for what's wanted in the future. And the purpose of a creative dilemma or a creative tension is to disturb us, to disturb the waters. Sometimes it's important that we break down in order to break through. Otherwise, sometimes we try to patch old things back together again, instead of saying, you know what? Time is done. Time to move on. Something new. And that creative dilemma then launches us into the dimensions of a creative process. There are three main aspects of a creative process that I want to take a look at today. One is exploring and experimenting. The purpose of that is to learn new things, exploring and experimenting. And we're not etching any of that in stone. We're exploring and experimenting in order to learn some new things, okay? Second aspect of a creative process is discovering new awarenesses and insights. So through discovery, new awarenesses and new insights. The purpose of the discovery phase is to discern what is ours to do, what's calling us with passion and meaning and purpose. And the third aspect is integrating those explorations and experiments with the discoveries that we've made. And the purpose of that is to fulfill the call. So we've learned, we've discerned, and now it's time to fulfill the call. The choice is always ours. We can stay the same and create a carbon copy of ourselves. When I think, you guys are old enough, you know what carbon copies are. In some young audience, they don't know what carbon paper is. Yeah, remember, carbon paper, yeah, you do things in triplicate. So, but it's good that that's gone, because we don't want to create a carbon copy of ourselves, do we? We want to continue to evolve and renew. So that's the way that we create the masterpiece that we truly are in this now moment of creation. We let go of the carbon paper. We're moving on, we're moving forward, moving deeper. And what makes creating our masterpiece possible? Unity, oneness with Spirit, and the power of creation, the power of God, the power of good. When we're in alignment with Spirit, the power and clear intention of ourselves, of our own being, and in alignment with Spirit's co-creative partnership with us in this now moment of creation, then we have the opportunity to create the greater yet to be and live the life that we love to live. Live the life you love to live. Why would you want to live anything other than that? Really? Seriously? I mean, I do see people that seem to enjoy bummers. You know? I mean, some people thrive on, well, Eeyore. Oh, you know, ain't it terrible? Tigger gets to run all around, but I just stand here. You know, I mean, there are people like that. Why would I do that? I want to be like Piglet. Do you ever see the episode? I don't know where this came from, but movies, right? So the Winnie the Pooh movie, it's a blustery day, and Piglet has that little sweater on, right? And somebody, you know, the wind started to whisk him up, and somebody grabbed the bottom of his sweater and it started to unravel. So Piglet looked like a kite, a flying pig, you know. So, and you know, somebody else said, "Hey, I want to fly with like Piglet," you know. So there's the excitement. Let's fly like Piglet. You know, what looks like, oh darn, he's floating away. Oh darn, it's unraveling his sweater. What an adventure! What an adventure! There's people who, ah, you know, flying pig. So be flying pigs, you guys. Seriously. You take nothing else from today. I want to be a flying pig. Because that's where the adventure is. That's where the life you love to live is. And it happens in the now moment of creation. It's the only place that you have the power to create now. You can't create in the past and you can't create in the future. You can only create now. And the power of the universe then conspires for our good. As long as we're in alignment with spirit, we need not effort to change our circumstances or change others or change the world. The only need is to transform ourselves, our thinking and our feeling, our consciousness, our believing, our actions and our results. That will change the world. It will change your world, and when you change, the world changes. Ernest Holmes said the famous line, change your thinking, change your life, right? Consciousness, your consciousness is cause, and we are the cause of our life experience and expression. Eric Butterworth, an icon in the Unity movement, said this: "You are a living magnet, constantly drawing to you the things and the people and the circumstances which are in accord with your thoughts," which is where your consciousness is. So if you're loving what's going on in your life, keep thinking and feeling and doing what you're doing. If not, some things are going to need to change. Thinking, feeling, actions, beliefs, consciousness must change in order to change the outcomes. So it's important that we learn and let go of the past, that we create in the present, and that we plan for the future. Now, the past relived does nothing except cloud our vision. Have you ever noticed that? It's like putting on a pair of glasses that are, you know, somebody smudged their fingers all over. You're like, wow, I can't see a thing. Duh. It's all, or taking the binoculars, and you ever do that as a kid? You turn them upside down, you know, and you look through the other end. You can't see a thing. Been there, done that. Back to the Future. So what I'd ask you to do is look at what's been so and let it go. And then intend what's new that's wanted and say, hello, I'm a poet. Look at the past and let it go. Let it go. Look at the future and say, hello. That's what I want. But we've got to get clear on what we want. And sometimes that will require some change. Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see. Be the change, not do the change. Be the change you wish to see. It comes from the inside out. And that change may require something of us. It may require that we weed the garden of our mind to prepare the soil of our soul for new seed. You notice how thriving sometimes weeds can be? It took me a while, in reality, to notice the difference between weeds and flowers. I was, oh, look at those pretty flowers. And somebody finally pointed out to me, yeah, that's a weed. It's going to kill everything else. Yeah, but it's a good-looking weed. Because I've been working on it for a long time. So we're going to have to pull the weeds out by the roots, right? Prepare the soil, chunk it up, make it ready for the soil of our soul to receive new seed. I'm going to give you a little metaphor, and then we're going to nurture it in this co-creative process. So we want to plant a clear, conscious thought. That's the seed. Then we want to add to that a vivid inner feeling of the experience already happening for us inwardly. That's the soil of the soul. Then we're going to add to that inspired, skillful actions. That's the water we pour on that soil and on that seed to help it grow. And then we're going to add to that acceptance. You know, you can't say, oh, I want this and I want that. Stay away. Acceptance. And acceptance is the warmth and light of the sun that nurtures that water, soil, and seed. And then finally, the really biggie. We're going to add to that an attitude of gratitude. That's the miracle grow fertilizer. And what we're going to get is a new experience and a new expression of life. That's the harvest. That's what we do in the present moment, in this neutral zone, this creative opportunity. Ernest Holmes taught the law of life says that whatever you mentally affirm and at the same time become inwardly aware of, life will create for you. The Spirit responds to us by corresponding to our states of thought. Prayer, communion with the Spirit, meditation or contemplation is for the purpose of unifying our minds with the universal mind, opening up the avenues of our thought to a greater influx. Get in alignment with Spirit. Get a bigger mind. Use the universal mind. Ernest Holmes also taught that a thought plus a feeling will equal a result. The thought is the conscious idea, but the feeling is the fuel that adds the fire. And that brings me to, from the title of my talk, P.T.F.A.R. P.T.F.A.R. Now, all of us came into this life, and we continue to come into this life, having been programmed by our parents, and our teachers, and our ministers, and our culture, and our country, and our news media. Lots of programming, which impacts how we think. And that programming and thinking impacts how we feel about things. And all of that impacts the actions that we take. And that ultimately impacts our results. So we got gnarly programming, we got funky thoughts, we got bad feelings, our action is kind of and our results are kind of low. But the good news is, change your thinking, change your life. We can reprogram intentionally and consciously any time we choose. So I can program something new. You can program something new. Suncoast can program something new, which impacts a new thought, a powerful, passionate feeling, which impacts our actions and our results to P.T.F.A.R. Got it? Program our thoughts, our feelings, our actions to P.T.F.A.R. and get big results. It's that simple. So I'm going to ask you to stand up if it's comfortable for you to stand up. And let's do that, because there's something about the actual action of doing something that helps you to remember. So we're going to program new thoughts, passionate feelings, powerful action, and P.T.F.A.R. to great results. Right? Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm known, you can sit down. And by the way, you can still do that if you sit down. So if you're somewhere, you can even you can go like, and you're in a crowd, you know. Right? You can still do it. But on the other hand, if you do it big, people just think you're crazy. Which is okay, because it gives you, what do you think about this? People think you're a little off, a little crazy, a little nuts. They have very low expectations of you. Which gives you tremendous freedom. So it's a good thing. Do it everywhere. So I'm known as the homework queen. My congregation, when I had my church in Seattle, they always said, you know, when you die, on your tombstone it's going to say, and the homework is. So I have two homeworks for you. One is to do the P.T.F.A.R. Okay? So practice that. Practice it in the mirror. And you'll, if nothing else, it'll make you laugh at yourself. But practice that in the mirror and have a real intention that you're reprogramming. and say, what do I think about that intention? How's that feel for me? What powerful actions does that produce? And how can I point far and get big results from that small little action? We're going to talk more about small little actions and how they add up to big results. So practice point far. And I also want you to practice the I am prayer. I am the I am. I am the I am. I, inspired intention. A, attention and affirmation. M, moving into manifestation. I am. Now I'm going to ask you to practice that this week, but I want you to be really careful what you put after I am. I'm going to point low first. Point low is, I am an idiot, and so it is, amen. So we're going to do what the kids do. Do over, and we're going to point far. I am a masterpiece, and so it is, amen. That's the prayer I want you to practice this week. I am whatever it is, and so it is, point far. Will you do that for me? All right, good. So blessings on your journey of co-creating your life and the life of Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living as a masterpiece, a masterpiece. May you begin by learning from and letting go of yesterday and creating in the present moment today, embracing tomorrow with joyful expectancy of good. So it is.